Youth violence is very important, and it's been the prevention and awareness are top priorities for both the Miami Herald and El Nuevo Herald. We've done a series of editorials. We've been covering this for a long time. So what we're going to do is I'd like to ask each of you, and I'd like to start with Pastor, to talk a little bit about what you do, a couple of minutes about what it is that your organization does and how you're trying to combat some of the things that you're facing. And what have you seen change in the last few years as you've been working on this issue?
Some of the things that we work on in the area that I'm called to serve in for the Miami Police Department as well as the church. One of the areas that we're working with is the young people. We're finding out that offenders are becoming younger and younger, and because they are, we have to intervene at a younger age. And we were blessed at the New Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church to be awarded a substantial grant to work with the children in the community. We formed a partnership with Holmes Elementary School and Dr. Perry there at Holmes Elementary School, as well as a partnership with the Miami Police Department, where we house the Police Athletic League for the North District at the New Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church. And what we do with the young people is from Monday through Friday, from 3:30 to 6:30, we work with them because we know that prisons are built based off of the third grade test scores of young people. So we know how critical it is to educate our young people and ensure that they are where they're supposed to be. So in our program, we don't just throw out the balls and play with them like that. We hire Dade County Public School teachers to work with them, reading teachers, math teachers, to work with them on a daily basis to ensure that the children are successful academically. And the good thing about our program is that it is absolutely free for the community. And because it is free for the community allows us to work with the children. And we're able to gain access to the children's academic record so that we could coach them and work with them where they're deficient, and where they're strong, we can work with them on being even stronger. And so we have received some funding to do that from the Department of Education. We've been blessed to receive funding as well from the Children's Trust. And with those fundings, we're able to hire employees and staff who are excellent to be able to work with the young people. And we have an independent auditor that audits what we do and ensures that everything we're doing, that we're receiving results. And another component that I must mention before I stop is GREAT. For those of you who don't know, GREAT is called Gang Resistance Education and Training. It's an evidence-based program by ATF that we utilize, and we bring police officers in twice a week to teach the young people. Another component to GREAT is great families. So not only are we working with the young people, but we're working with their families, ensuring that families are developing and being great families.
Thank you so much. Ms. Muñiz? Big
Good
brothers,
afternoon.
big sisters, right?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, Big Brothers Big Sisters is the largest, oldest, most effective mentoring organization in the United States. And here in Miami, we're going on 60 years of working and serving our community's youth. And we're really all about awakening possibilities and potential in young people by pairing them with caring volunteers that serve as big brothers and big sisters. And ultimately, we know that everybody, in terms of sense of community, there are actually four factors or four areas that everyone thinks about when they think about what makes a sense of community. And first of all is feeling like you're a member, you're valued, right? Membership in a community. I matter. Having that sense of I can influence, I can make a difference, I can be a factor in the quality of life of our community. And in fact, with the City of Miami Police Department, we have launched now our Bigs in Blue. I'm wearing blue on purpose. Our Bigs in Blue program, where we actually have already recruited over 20 City of Miami police officers that are serving as big brothers and big sisters with elementary and middle school students to really debunk the myths and the perceptions that exist about police officers, making them real people, if you will, connecting them with our young folks. And that sense of belonging, that sense of community, that sense of I matter is really a way to how do I connect? Obviously not in the most positive way, but it was really looking for that sense of connection.
Thank you. Mr. Hagman?
At Knight Foundation, we're a foundation started by former newspaper publishers, two guys, Jack and Jim Knight, who own papers all across the country. But our home is here in Miami. This is where we're based. This is our national headquarters. And the mission of the foundation is promoting informed and engaged communities. And the thinking being that healthy communities are places where we all as residents have access to timely and relevant news and information, but most importantly have the ability to act on that news and information as we see fit, as we see as in what are our own true interests. And that in healthy communities, there's that sense of possibility and belonging that Lydia was talking about. And the ways that we've pursued that are through our arts program, through our journalism and media innovation programs, and through our communities programs. And this sort of manifests itself in different ways. I mean, through our arts program, for example, now every school-age child goes to the Perez Art Museum at some point in their schooling. We have programs like U-Media, where now, and we're going to hear more about it shortly, where in two of our libraries, and soon someplace else, we have U-Media centers where children have access to all of the different forms of media that they can participate in and utilize to not just sort of be consumers of technology, but creators of it, whether it's web design or photography or video production or music production or whatever it might be. In our Communities and National Initiatives program, we've launched a whole effort around entrepreneurship alongside our work in the arts. And that includes things like Code Fever and Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship and Girls Who Code, which is all about teaching, sort of, in this case, teenagers, sort of how they can use tools such as learning to code to build and pursue the ideas that they want to build and pursue, with the hopefully that creates this sense of possibility, hopefully that contributes to fostering more of a community of problem solvers. We just finished the second edition of Black Tech Week, right, which we founded just 2 years ago. All of this trying to, in this particular case, around entrepreneurship. We launched an effort where, with Teach for America, which we're in the middle of scaling up, where we focused on schools in Overtown, Liberty City, and Little Haiti, where we're scaling up the number of Teach for America teachers from 90 to 300. Those are hopefully give some flavor of the things that we're working on in the city to create this community of greater possibility and belonging.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell?
I really appreciate being here, be able to talk from the perspective of Liberty City optimists, as well as the people from our community. And, some of the things that, we founded the program over 26 years ago, me and Sam Johnson. I was a kid being bused at Miami Beach to play football, to play organized sports, getting home at night at 11:30 at night, not necessarily being able to do homework. And I was just being basically passed along, me and my other friends at Miami Beach, because they just basically wanted us over there to play football. So once I realized that was the situation, and I said, if I ever get 2 cents over my lunch money, I'm going to start my own youth program at my own park in the neighborhood where I grew up at, which is Hadley Park. And that is something that we did, and this year will be our 26th year. We have over 450 young people from the age of 4 to 15 years old. We serve those kids. We have over 160 volunteers. We get no money from no outside organization. Everybody works for free. At our program, we just was awarded a CDBG grant of about $50,000 from the city of Miami, which will hopefully help us buy additional equipment. We have over 10 or 15 kids that are in the NFL right now, and over 35 kids that are in the NCAA playing football right now, and how we were able to do those different things were at our program through sports. We started tracking the kids because me and Sam, we realized that we were losing a lot of kids to the streets. And what we did is we said we're going to start tracking those kids, and then we extended it a little more, based on what happened with me as a kid. One impressionable thing was, my mom sent me when I was running the streets the wrong way. She sent me to D.C. to stay with my military brother, and that opened my eyes because I saw African-American professionals. And at that time, I said I wanted to be an African-American professional because I saw people living a different life. And I just basically said, look, I'm going to take the same ideal, give it to these kids. Every year, we'll take a bus, load of kids. For the last 8 years, we would take about 60 of the kids. When they're in 14 to 15 years old, we'll take them to college campuses. And when they get to the college campuses, they'll see kids that look just like them. They'll see kids from the community. We'll, talk to those kids and make sure that they see them, and we'll let them know that, these are the things that they're doing. 99.1% of the time, they think those kids that are in colleges, they think that they're in jail or dead. So it's a very impressionable thing on these kids when they come back. It's real easy for them to focus on their educational part. So these are some of the things that we do. And right now we're running about 80% of our kids that are coming from our program that attend the high schools. We're running around 80% of the kids that are going to college right now. So that's something thank you. That's something that we're very, very proud of. At the end of the day, we're proud Miamians, whether we live on Southwest 8th Street or we live in Avatura. We are one Miami. Think of us as one because they don't say a certain part of Miami when it's an issue. They speak of us as all of Miami, and there are a whole bunch of resources in this room that could be able to help the situations that are happening in these areas. And again, I'd just like to thank you all for being here and
Thank you so much.
pass it on to you.
Thank you. So we'll move from sports to books.
Good afternoon. My name's Will Fowler. I'm a proud librarian here in Miami-Dade. Miami-Dade Public Library System offers a safe and exciting place for youth from all walks of life, 7 days a week, mornings, afternoons, and evenings at 49 locations throughout our county. Proactively speaking, we've partnered with the juvenile justice system through a grant from the American Library Association. We host Great Stories book clubs for at-risk youth through a grant from the James L. Knight Foundation. U-Media Innovation Centers at North Dade and South Dade regional libraries teach high school students from ages 14 through the ages of 19 podcasting, music mixing, video game design, film production, photography and graphic design, and other trending technological explorations such as coding and robotics.
Great. And Mr. Hodge, you're going to speak about Children's Trust?
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Hodge, the new president and CEO of the Children's Trust. I've actually been on the job for 4 days now. So it's nice to be on the panel with all this distinguished group. I want to thank the commissioner, Miami-Dade College. But I do know a lot about kids. I spent the last 25 years working in this county. I was a principal at a middle school and a high school. And I think that we all know the indicators of violence and kids going south at an early age. And I've witnessed that. I think the trend with violence, it hasn't peaked. This has been ongoing. So we need to start thinking of doing work differently. We've talked, we've invested, but the violence still continues. So it is my charge as the new president and CEO to work differently. I think, at least for my limited exposure, this is the first time we're working collectively. I think, Commissioner, for this, there's been other meetings that we're talking about that we need to work so we don't have a redundancy of effort and that we work effectively, we work smart. The Children's Trust, the voters approved $100 million we put back into the community. $100 million sounds steep, $100 million is nowhere near enough. There's a lot of gaps in this community. We put money into early childhood because prevention is not when they're teenagers. Sometimes as a high school principal, it's hard to change them that late in the game.
So what about the family? Really, the the parents who care will take their kid to the library. The parents who care will enroll them in the sports programs. The parents who care will walk into a big brother's, big sister. How do you get to these parents? Because when you look at the children who are committing these crimes, most likely their families are so dysfunctional. Some, it isn't that way at all. Some, they're very good parents and they've just lost their child to the streets.
I know for Big Brothers Big Sisters, in order for us to pair any child in the program, whether they're elementary, middle, or high school, the parent must be involved. And so we visit the homes. We engage them at the schools. We partner quite a bit with a wide variety, as I mentioned earlier, from the City of Miami Police Department to churches, to other nonprofit organizations, to over 60 schools and public schools. We've got some parent training effectiveness programs, and I hate to use the word training because it's really not that. It's really about engagement and sharing, having parents that are proud of what they've been doing as parents share perhaps some of the best practices and things that they feel are effective, and giving them, again, facilitating that sense of community, that they're not alone in this fight, if you will, that there are others that are going to stand with them, and that there is a world of potential and possibilities. And I can tell you from my almost 28 years with Big Brothers Big Sisters, I can think of one young man, David, that we matched years ago with a big brother. He is now in college. David said, we saved him. His big brother saved him. He was one of the gang leaders that was involved in doing some of this that we're talking about today, gun violence in the community.
Most of the things that we're seeing today is because the parents don't have an active role in rearing their children, or not developed to the point that they're able to do it successfully. So I think that we need to focus more on reaching out to the children. If you have a program that the children are excited about, that the children want to go to, then the parents will become active in what they see their children doing. And that's one of the things that we do at our program. We work with the children, but we require certain things from the parents. Because we don't charge the parents, they're willing to, work with us when we tell them that we need to gather together. There's something going in the community that we need them there, or when there are parenting classes being presented at the church, the parents are willing and excited about interacting with us and interacting with their children, because they're getting something out of it. And how to address gang violence. What do you need to look for in your child? Your child is doing this sign. What does this sign mean? And how do you intervene? And what programs are available? And lastly, one of the things we do at the church is we feed the children. Every day they get a hot meal. You'd be surprised how many kids just want to be able to have a good meal. So that's a drawing point that we have for the children, and the parents don't have to pay anything.
Yes, what we do at our program, just like I said, it is the parents. The parents are very, very important, because just like you say, where we're at Hadley Park, it's in the middle of it all. I mean, most of those kids from the Pork Bean Projects, they play in our program. Most of the kids from Scott Projects, they play in our program. So we're in the heart of it all. And those parents are on our park. Those kids are on our park. Now, you would say if there's a shooting and if there's a killing in that particular area, 9 times out of 10, those families are part of our family. All of our parents are heavily involved. We make sure that they're very involved. We talk to them about the importance of voting. We have a senior citizen building that's connected to our park. Our seniors are very, very, very involved. I mean, we take those seniors and we have those seniors mentor our parents while our kids are out there playing. It's a beautiful thing. And so we try and encourage, and we tell our parents that this program don't work without you. And when I talk about 160 volunteers, there's another 200 and some volunteers of grandma, granddad, and all those people that are out there on that park. We make sure that they're engaged, and I think when these older people tell them and talk to them like, like a grandfather and like a mentor, they straighten up 9 times out of 10. They straighten up, and we've saw some successful things happen in our program.
That's fascinating. So that you're using the next generation over the grandparents to kind of help steer when the parents are a bit lost and too young.
Yes,
Very
I mean, you see, if you ever go in one of those sessions and see Miss Dawkins,
Well, yes, I've seen her actually.
Miss Dawkins give it to them blood raw.
Yeah.
And they love doing it. They love doing it.
Mr. Fowler?
Librarians aggressively perform outreach at our elementary schools throughout our county. We all know that if you can read at an early age, your chances of success in life are greatly increased. But we aggressively promote what's available at the library, starting at the pre-K age.
The people who go to the website and look for service are not what we're concerned for. You have a lot of parents who are not actively looking. So then we need to actively look for them and get their kids involved in at an early age and put the wraparound services with parenting skills, homework assistance, academic assistance. So I think the wraparound assistance is truly critical. There also is what was mentioned is the mentoring piece. They need to see good role models, and we heavily invest in that too, the mentoring piece. So what we do at the Children's Trust, it really is from the cradle through graduation. So we get them early, and if we want to change this trajectory of violence, you got to start early and take them through the entire pipeline.
If you could be the king of or the queen of the forest and could do whatever you want and wave that magic wand, how would you have the programs work here in Greater Miami for children? But perhaps you also know what is a best practice. What city can you point to and say they're doing it right? We see some things that they're doing that are really making a difference, and if we could only do X, Y, and Z, or get X number of dollars, or whatever it is that's needed, or just the buy-in of the community.
If I had a magic wand, it would be simply that every person in Dade County simply knew what was available at the library. A lot of folks, they think these brick and mortar facilities they have antiquated ideas, and it's really exciting what's going on there, and our youth are interested in what's going on at the library.
Oh, you asked me about a magic wand. If I had a magic wand based on the things that I've saw in the community, and I'm there every day, the first thing I would say, and I would tell the politicians, just like I say, don't think of your community just as your community in which you serve. Think of the toughest areas and help bridge the divide between community and politics. That's number one. Number two, I would then take some of those, not take the cameras from off Biscayne Boulevard, but I'll put cameras in those areas where they have problems at. There's no reason in the world, with all the resources that we have in this county, that we don't have cameras in hotbed areas. I think the federal government sent the city of Miami, the county, some monies, some cameras down, and they took the cameras that was designated for those crime-ridden areas, and they took them on Biscayne Boulevard. I don't think that's a good idea. I think if you really want to combat the crime, you would put those cameras in those areas. Number two, I think, I've had a couple conversations with Mr. Carvalho. You need to bring back tech schools. Tech schools are very, very important, because if you do not have, everybody's not going to college. Back in the days, you could learn how to be a plumber. You could learn how to be a carpenter. You could learn how to be, you can get a trade and get a job. These kids right now, they don't have a job and they don't have no way out, and they're just looking at, okay, how I'm gonna survive. I deal with them every day. I talk to them. Why are you out there committing these crimes? Why are you killing? So these are the things that they're telling me.
Very briefly, I'll add a couple more to our wish list. One, I would bring up urban mobility. I mean, one of the things we funded the launch of is the Idea Center at Miami-Dade College, and can't tell you how many stories I've listened to from students who, to be there, have to be on a bus for an hour and a half each way. It just requires an extraordinary effort to, in this case, to be able to take advantage of the opportunities presented. And it's been shown that there's a relationship between access to public transportation and social mobility. There's a correlation. But in addition, I'd also think about innovation deserts. You know, as we think about neighborhoods right now where internet access is deplorably low. I mean, and that opens up a whole new world. And I certainly agree that understanding the opportunities that are out there and awareness is a big part of the battle, and being able to find those sort of passion points that create that focus and that sense of possibility. But having access to a wider world through things like the internet is vital. And yet we have neighborhoods where basic internet needs go unmet. So why not have a whole community initiative to not just have basic service, but have actually high-speed service through all of our neighborhoods, indeed our poorest neighborhoods?
I have one. Miami ranks dead last in the country in the percentage of the population that volunteers. Evidence-based programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters that truly work in transforming children's lives, and many others, need more volunteers, particularly men, to step up and volunteer and mentor our young people, because it will transform their lives.
Well, I have a couple of things. First of all, as a police major, I would like to see us focus more resources to address crime. You know we have gang and narcotics issues, but it's going to take money to address these issues. Going to have the appropriate number of resources, and we got to begin countywide to think more proactive instead of reactive. And I know it seems like we're not making progress because of the recent deaths and the things that we have seen in the media. But in actuality, we have made progress in Miami-Dade County, and we are on the forefront of a lot of things as it relates to law enforcement and community development. And many people throughout the country, they look at what we're doing here. So I wouldn't look to any other place to do the things that we need to do. I would tap the resources that we have here. The young people are becoming smarter and smarter. So we have to become smarter and smarter as it relates to investigating things with them. In terms of social media, we can't be behind the 8 ball, if you will, as it relates to social media. The young people will get on the phone and send out a text or a tweet, and they can have 500 people in one location in 10 minutes. We have to begin to start thinking like our young people are thinking, so we can address the problems that they have. And I'm just going to be quite frank and honest, because those of you who know me know that I'm just a pretty honest kind of guy. Right now, black and brown children are the ones who are suffering the most as it relates to violence. If the color of those children was another color, it would be more of an emphasis in terms of addressing the ills of that particular group.
Hello, how y'all doing? My name is Dwight Wells. I'm a proud founder of an inner city organization by the name of Bikes Up and Guns Down. It's a community of kids who ride regular bikes before picking up a gun. I'm in the inner city with these kids every day, riding around with like 150 kids on bicycles. I'm pretty sure all of y'all on this panel had a bike before. It's always been a part of our culture. I don't care if you're Spanish, Caucasian, black, or white. Being that bicycles are stronghold to kids, those kids around me, uneducated. And I'm crying over in Urban Liberty City like, yo, like anybody can come give some help. These kids want education. They want to be rebuilt. True, it takes funding. But to get their attention, they're with me every day. They say you can't mix spiritual with political. I got a major right here who's a pastor of a church. And for far too long, what's been going on in Liberty City is murdering. You can look at every other village. We call them communities now. And in our word, it told us the only way to raise a village is to take a village to raise a village. We want to rebuild from dealing with those young ones. We want to build education for them, because without education, they can't get no job. Let's work with the kids that want to do better.
Thank you.
the county commission passed a resolution basically saying hands off on singling out Miami for money laundering. And today in the Miami Herald reported a bust of money laundering coming from one of the Mexican drug cartels. When we hear the conversations about crime, oftentimes it seems like there's the focus on the children, there's a focus on families. But when are we going to include in the conversation where the drugs are coming from, where the guns are coming from, and point some attention to the criminals who wear suits? Because not only is money laundering hugely influential on crime, but it's also affecting the gentrification of our neighborhoods, which is causing further issues with our disenfranchised citizens. So I hope that can also be brought up in these conversations about crime.
I'm the fund of Save the Hood Foundation. Today I'm here, I just want to ask the community to just work with us, the guys that's in the communities. Save the Hood, Bikes Up, Guns Down. We in the community, we live there, but we have also put in work. We change our lives so we can better our community. They mentioned earlier about the kids look up to us. They look up to us. They like to come to things that they can pretty much be okay and comfortable with and go home and tell their parents and talk about those events that they attended and talk about the things that we are doing for them. So we just ask them to work with us, just like NFL. We the players. We out there. And we also need y'all, and I know y'all need us because we there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your participation today. It was really interesting, and you can see there's a lot of passion. And I really have learned a lot and have a lot of follow-up questions now and maybe some ideas for editorials that I'll bring back to my editor. Thank you.